I had struggled with an eating disorder for many, many years, about 14 years. And I had come to a place when I was in college where I had stopped acting on those desires to, mistreat my body and stuff, but I hadn't really been healed and set free of it. And nearly like 10 years passed, and I had realized I still had some issues that I needed to deal with. And I spent about a week in the nursery in my house in the rocking chair. I mean, I tended to my children's needs, but I mean, I spent a good week just praying and just devouring the Word and just really hearing from the Lord just truth that He wanted for me and to set me free. And it was in that time that I really first I realized that He wants to speak to me in prayer. When I am praying, He wants to speak back. He wants me to hear Him. And so that kind of began just a deeper journey in just my Christian walk, but also into prayer. And then in the last 4 years, since my husband was diagnosed with cancer, there have been just several times that that through prayer he's just answered, and not necessarily in ways that I had wanted Him to, but in ways that have brought me joy and peace and hope. The main point was probably about a year and a half ago when I just needed hope. But what I asked Him for was hope that my husband would survive cancer. And through a series of events, I got the opposite of that, which was not very encouraging and not what I had hoped for when I asked Him to give me hope. But through a journey of probably about 6 months, what He began to show me is where my hope really needed to be, and that was in Him. And it's just amazing to see how much good there is in the world despite a scary prognosis. And it's just, I definitely have times where I am emotional about it and I'm sad about it, and times that I struggle with fear. But I know that I can take that to the Lord, and if I will continue to focus on Him, He will give me the hope in Himself and the joy in Himself and the peace that only He can give when I'm seeking Him. Just talk to the Lord as if He were a friend, because He is a friend. He's a friend that is closer than a brother. And if you just be still and be quiet on the inside, if you can just find a place with no distractions and just seek Him and just talk to Him like a friend. I think the way that I understand God and His character as I've grown in prayer is He's just proven Himself to be faithful. When I am faithless, He is always faithful, and I have just come to just know it in my soul. I mean, I grew up hearing that He was and reading in His Word where He was, but I mean, I know it deep down now. I know that I could lose everything and He would still be there.
The girls, Kathy and Teresa, we always were praying for him, and the girls would even tell him that, Daddy, we're going to heaven. Mama and us will be there and you won't be there, and we want you to be with us. And we would pray constantly. and to hear our prayer and to know that the Lord loved him. But he wouldn't listen to us, being family. And so I just eventually, I said, Lord, I need help here. And I need you to bring people into his life that will touch him and let him know your word, that you love him. And he did. And he became ill. He had a stroke. And so many people came, loving people from the church, came and prayed with him, read the Bible to him, and he still was resisting, And so we just kept praying and praying, and he would get really ill. He'd go in and out of the hospital. He was in a nursing home. He had a stroke in 2004. And he was very ill, and he would go in and out of the hospital, close to death every time. And we would pray, said, Lord, don't let him die without knowing you. And the last time that he was in was October of 2008. And when he was in intensive care, he had almost died that time. And I had been reading the Bible to him. And it was quiet in the room, and I was sitting on the chair, and I got up and I went over and I said, AC, do you believe Jesus died on the cross for you? And he said, yes. And then my eyes got big, and I said, and that's when I asked him, I said, do you want Neil here? And he did. And when Neil came, he said, I'm ready. And it was such a wonderful moment, and it just was such a feeling how great it was that that he had found the Lord, and I'm so thankful because 3 months later he was gone. I don't know what I'd have done if he'd have died without knowing the Lord, but it shows that God just, so many people were praying, and prayer is just so wonderful. And God was listening. And of course, he's always listening. But of course, we want it now, but God did it in his time. And I think a lot of people were touched, and during that time. But even after he passed, praying to the Lord, I would just scream out to God to help me. I said, help me, Lord, get me through this. And I said, I just take care, just be there for me, help me. I need help. And he lifted me. And I didn't even think I was going to make it through the first year. I said, I don't think I'm going to make it, Lord. I just don't think I'm. But before I know it, it was a year. And he was with me every day. And he heard my prayers, and he heard me holler, and he heard me. And he loved me. He said, I'm going to get you through this, Toby. Don't you worry. I'm going to get you through this. And he did. And he was with me every day, and he lifted me every day. And so that's my Father. He's my Father. And he took care of me. And I love him. Don't be afraid to talk to the Lord. He hears you, and just be yourself. He's your Father. He loves you. Just, talk to him and tell him how you feel. He cares everything about you. And just, just don't be afraid to talk to the Lord. And, just, he's there for you. And he loves you. So tell him how you feel. Tell him what's hurting you. He cares everything about you.